Bryce Laspiza was a 19-year-old college student at Sierra College in Rockland, California. Known for his vibrant red hair and charming personality, Bryce had a promising future ahead of him. But in late August 2013, his life took a sudden and baffling turn, leaving his family and friends desperate for answers and the public intrigued by the mystery. Bryce had just started his sophomore year. On August 27, 2013, he returned to Rockland from his hometown in Laguna Niguel after the summer break. Everything seemed normal until his behavior began to change drastically over the next couple of days. Bryce's friends noticed he was acting strangely. He was giving away his belongings, including a pair of diamond earrings given to him by his mother, and drinking heavily, which was out of character for him. He also broke up with his girlfriend, Kim Sly, without a clear reason. On August 28, Bryce called his mother, Karen Laspisa, to inform her about his recent breakup and his plan to drive home to Laguna Niguel to talk things over. Concerned about his unusual behavior, Karen urged him to stay put and promised to visit him the next day. However, Bryce was determined to leave. Later that night, Bryce's roommate, Sean Dixon, called Karen to express his worries about Bryce's state of mind. Bryce had been drinking heavily and was clearly distressed. Alarmed, Karen asked Sean to take Bryce's car keys to prevent him from driving. But Bryce managed to convince Sean that he was fine, and Sean reluctantly returned the keys. In the early hours of August 29, Bryce began a drive that would become shrouded in mystery. He headed south toward his parents' home, but ended up spending the next 24 hours in a puzzling journey across Northern California. Throughout this time, he made several odd and disjointed calls to his parents, who desperately tried to track his movements. At 9 a.m. on August 30, Bryce's parents contacted a roadside assistance service to check on him after he mentioned he was out of gas near Buttonwillow, California. The service delivered 3 gallons of gas, and the technician noted that Bryce seemed fine but unusually reluctant to proceed with his journey. His parents then instructed him to drive to a nearby truck stop and wait for them to meet him. But Bryce never made it. Instead, he spent the next several hours sitting in his car near the truck stop. Surveillance footage captured his vehicle leaving the area around 3:00 p.m., only to return minutes later, indicating he was aimlessly driving in circles. During this time, Bryce made several calls to his parents, each more unsettling than the last. His voice sounded calm, but his actions were erratic. At one point, Bryce's mother asked him to get some rest and assured him they would come to get him. Despite her efforts, Bryce remained inexplicably stationary, showing signs of deep internal conflict or confusion. At around 2 a.m. on August 31, Bryce's car was found overturned at the bottom of a 25-foot embankment near Castaic Lake, about 2 hours north of Laguna Niguel. The car was on its side with a back window shattered, and all of Bryce's belongings, including his phone, wallet, and laptop, were inside. Yet Bryce was nowhere to be found. The immediate investigation focused on the crash site. Authorities noted that the car's engine was still running and the airbags had not deployed, suggesting that Bryce had managed to get out of the vehicle on his own. There were no signs of a struggle or foul play at the scene, adding to the mystery of his sudden disappearance. Search teams scoured the area for weeks, using helicopters, drones, and dogs, but found no trace of Bryce. Divers searched Castaic Lake, but again there was no sign of him. The case grew colder as time went on, leaving everyone involved with more questions than answers. Now, let's delve into a new angle that hasn't been widely explored: Bryce's mental state and possible psychological issues leading up to his disappearance. There were significant red flags that might indicate a deeper, underlying problem. Bryce's sudden change in behavior, his heavy drinking, and the uncharacteristic decision to break up with his girlfriend suggests that he might have been experiencing a mental health crisis. A close examination of his final days reveals patterns often associated with severe mental distress. The act of giving away personal items can be a sign of suicidal ideation. Bryce's erratic driving and inability to reach his destination might indicate a dissociative state where a person becomes disconnected from their immediate surroundings or even their own identity. Furthermore, there were reports that Bryce had been using the ADHD medication Vyvanse, which, if abused or taken in large quantities, can lead to severe side effects, including psychosis, anxiety, and agitation. It's plausible that Bryce's unusual behavior was influenced by the misuse of this medication, either exacerbating an existing mental health condition or triggering new symptoms. Despite these indicators, there seems to have been a lack of immediate intervention from mental health professionals, which might have changed the outcome. The focus of the investigation was primarily on finding Bryce physically, but understanding his mental state could have provided critical insights into his actions and whereabouts. Bryce's disappearance has led to numerous theories, from voluntary disappearance to foul play. Some speculate that he may have wandered into the wilderness and succumbed to the elements, while others believe he might have hitchhiked and met an unknown fate. There are also those who think Bryce might still be alive, living off the grid, or in a state of amnesia. One angle that deserves more attention is the possibility of human trafficking. While it may seem far-fetched, the circumstances of Bryce's disappearance fit some of the patterns associated with trafficking cases where young, vulnerable individuals are targeted and exploited. Another overlooked aspect is the potential involvement of someone Bryce knew. Was there a person in his life who might have taken advantage of his vulnerable state? Investigators should re-examine Bryce's social circle, looking for any clues that might point to a personal conflict or manipulation. Additionally, the search for Bryce might benefit from advanced technology and renewed efforts. The use of modern forensic techniques, such as DNA analysis and geolocation tracking, could uncover new leads. Crowdsourcing information through social media and community engagement could also help gather fresh insights or witness accounts that were previously missed. Moreover, examining Bryce's digital footprint in greater detail might provide clues about his state of mind and intentions. Analyzing his online activities, text messages, and social media interactions could reveal patterns or conversations that point to what he was experiencing and planning in those crucial days. In the end, Bryce Laspis's case remains one of the most enigmatic disappearances in recent history. His family's relentless search for answers continues, driven by hope and the desire for closure. They have set up a Facebook page and continue to work with private investigators, hoping that someone, somewhere, knows something that can unravel this mystery. If you have any information about Bryce Laspisa's disappearance, please contact the authorities. Every bit of information, no matter how small, can make a difference. Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're diving into a case that's both tragic and perplexing: the disappearance and murder of Alyssa Turney. This story has captivated the nation for years, and we're going to break down all the details, the twists, and the shocking developments that led to her stepfather's arrest nearly 2 decades later. This case is a haunting reminder of how sometimes the answers we seek are closer than we think. Let's get started. Alyssa Turney was a typical 17-year-old high school junior at Paradise Valley High School in Phoenix, Arizona. She was known for her outgoing personality, having a part-time job at a local fast food restaurant, and being involved in her school's activities. Alyssa lived with her stepfather, Michael Turney, and her younger half-sister, Sarah. Her biological mother had passed away when she was young, leaving Michael as the primary parental figure in her life. Michael Turney, a former law enforcement officer and union worker, was known for his strict and overprotective nature. He kept a tight grip on Alyssa's life, often going to extreme lengths to monitor her activities. Despite these controls, Alyssa had plans for her future, including aspirations of further education and maintaining strong social ties with friends. May 17th, 2001 started like any other day for Alyssa. It was the last day of school before summer break, and she was looking forward to spending time with friends. However, Michael Turney picked her up early from school, citing a need for them to have lunch together to discuss her future. According to Michael, an argument ensued, and Alyssa stormed off, leaving behind a note that stated she was running away to California. This note was the last trace of Alyssa. Michael reported her as a runaway to the police, and with no immediate signs of foul play, the case was initially classified as such. The police believed that Alyssa, like many teenagers, might have left home due to personal issues. Unfortunately, this assumption significantly delayed the urgency and scope of the investigation. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Alyssa's family and friends grew increasingly concerned. Alyssa's friends insisted that she would never leave without telling someone. They pointed out that she left behind her personal belongings, including her phone and money, which was unusual for someone intending to run away. Michael Turney's behavior also raised eyebrows. He was overly cooperative with the investigation, often providing unsolicited details and theories about what might have happened to Alyssa. He suggested that she was abducted by union members to retaliate against him. This theory seemed far-fetched, especially given the lack of evidence supporting such claims. Moreover, Michael's past and his relationship with Alyssa came under scrutiny. Reports from family members and friends suggested that Michael had an unhealthy obsession with Alyssa, exhibiting behavior that was controlling and invasive. Alyssa had confided in friends about feeling uncomfortable with her stepfather's advances and his strict rules. Sarah Turney, Alyssa's younger sister, was only 12 years old when Alyssa disappeared. As she grew older, she began to question the circumstances surrounding her sister's disappearance. By 2017, Sarah took to social media, starting with platforms like YouTube and later moving to TikTok to raise awareness about Alyssa's case. She meticulously presented evidence, including documents and recordings, that pointed to Michael Turney as the primary suspect. Sarah's efforts garnered significant public attention. Her TikTok videos, in particular, went viral, drawing millions of views and bringing Alyssa's case back into the spotlight. Sarah's determination and use of social media to crowdsource information and pressure authorities is a testament to the power of digital advocacy in modern investigations. In 2008, the police conducted a search of Michael Turney's home, hoping to find new leads. What they discovered was alarming. Michael had an extensive collection of weapons, including pipe bombs and a manifesto outlining plans for a mass attack against the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Union Hall. This discovery led to Michael's arrest on charges related to the illegal possession of firearms and explosives, but not directly to Alyssa's disappearance. During the search, police also found hundreds of hours of home video footage, some of which featured Alyssa. One particularly disturbing recording captured Michael Turney speaking to the camera, stating that if anything were to happen to him, it was the fault of the union. This bizarre declaration, coupled with his conspiracy theories, painted a picture of a man deeply paranoid and potentially dangerous. Despite these findings, there was still no direct evidence linking Michael to Alyssa's disappearance. The case remained cold, with Michael serving time for the weapons charges and continuing to claim his innocence regarding Alyssa. The real breakthrough in the case came in 2020, nearly 19 years after Alyssa vanished. Maricopa County Attorney's Office reviewed the case again, largely due to the pressure and new evidence brought forward by Sarah Turney's campaign. They decided there was enough circumstantial evidence to arrest Michael Turney on second-degree murder charges. The arrest affidavit revealed new details, including interviews with individuals who corroborated suspicions about Michael's inappropriate behavior towards Alyssa. Additionally, inconsistencies in his accounts and the implausibility of his union retaliation theory weakened his defense. Michael Turney was arrested on August 20th, 2020, bringing a mix of relief and renewed grief to those who knew Alyssa. The long overdue arrest signaled a step towards justice, but also highlighted the shortcomings and delays in the initial investigation. This case is a tragic reminder of how initial assumptions can derail an investigation. Treating Alyssa's disappearance as a runaway case without thoroughly exploring other possibilities delayed justice by nearly 2 decades. The authorities' early reluctance to consider foul play, despite the red flags raised by Alyssa's friends and family, allowed a potential murderer to remain free for years. Michael Turney's behavior was suspicious from the start. His control over Alyssa, his far-fetched conspiracy theories, and the incriminating evidence found in his home all pointed to a man capable of causing harm. Yet it took relentless advocacy from Sarah Turney and the power of social media to bring the case back to the forefront. Sarah Turney's use of TikTok to shed light on her sister's case is nothing short of revolutionary. It demonstrates how modern technology and platforms can play a crucial role in seeking justice. Her determination to find answers for Alyssa is commendable and serves as an inspiration for others fighting similar battles. However, this case also raises serious questions about the handling of missing persons cases, particularly those involving teenagers. The assumption that a teenager has simply run away can lead to crucial evidence being overlooked. It's essential for law enforcement to approach each case with an open mind and thorough investigative procedures, considering all possibilities from the outset. The disappearance and murder of Alyssa Turney is a heartbreaking case that underscores the importance of thorough investigations and the power of public advocacy. As the case progresses through the legal system, we hope for justice for Alyssa and closure for her family. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the tragic story of Alyssa Turney. If you found this video informative, please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our latest content. We are committed to bringing you the real stories behind the headlines. Stay safe and see you next time. Imagine a city where the music never stops, where the air is filled with the soulful notes of jazz, and where the streets are alive with vibrant culture. This is New Orleans, a city of life, laughter, and music. But beneath the surface of this lively city, a shadow loomed. Between 1918 and 1919, New Orleans was gripped by fear as a mysterious and brutal figure emerged from the darkness. This is not just a story of crime, it's a tale of terror that danced to the rhythm of jazz. This is the chilling story of the Axeman of New Orleans. New Orleans, the birthplace of jazz, was no stranger to the sounds of trumpets, saxophones, and pianos filling the night air. But in the midst of this musical haven, an ominous silence began to spread. The year was 1918, and the city would soon find itself in the grip of a serial killer unlike any other. An unknown assailant, wielding an axe, began a reign of terror that left a trail of blood and fear. The victims were seemingly chosen at random, their only commonality being their ethnicity and occupation. Italian-American grocers were the primary targets, and the brutality of the attacks sent shockwaves through the community. This was no ordinary killer, this was the Axeman of New Orleans. The Axeman's methods were as mysterious as his identity. Breaking into homes in the dead of night, he attacked his victims with a level of savagery that stunned the city's residents. And yet, he left behind more questions than answers. Who was he? Why did he choose his victims? And what was his connection to the city's jazz scene? Stay tuned as we delve into the gruesome details, the bizarre clues, and the eerie jazz connection that makes the story of the Axeman of New Orleans one of the most chilling unsolved mysteries in American history. Our story begins on May 23rd, 1918. Joseph and Catherine Maggio, owners of a small grocery store, were found brutally murdered in their home. Their throats had been slashed with a razor and their heads bashed with an axe. The police found a message scrawled on the sidewalk near the crime scene, adding to the mystery and terror. The scene was gruesome. Catherine's throat had been cut so deeply that she was nearly decapitated, while Joseph succumbed to his injuries shortly after being discovered by his brothers. The murder weapon, a blood-stained razor, was later found on a neighbor's lawn, and the axe used in the attack was left at the scene. The killer had broken into the Maggio residence by chiseling out a panel on the back door. Despite the brutal nature of the crime, no money or valuables were taken, ruling out robbery as a motive. The police were baffled and the community was horrified. This marked the beginning of a series of murders that would haunt New Orleans and leave a lasting legacy of fear. Over the next year, a chilling pattern began to emerge. The Axeman's victims were primarily Italian American grocers targeted in their own homes during the dead of night. The killer's modus operandi involved chiseling out a panel on the back door, gaining silent entry while the occupants slept. Once inside, he used their own axes or other tools found at the scene to commit the murders. The brutality and randomness of the attacks plunged the city into a state of panic. Families fortified their homes and slept with weapons by their beds, while others even resorted to keeping vigil through the night. The fear was palpable. The streets of New Orleans, usually alive with the sound of jazz, were now quiet and tense. One of the most notable attacks occurred on June 27, 1918. Louis Bessumer, a grocer, and his mistress, Harriet Lowe, were discovered by a delivery driver the morning after they had been brutally attacked in the quarters behind their store. Louis had been struck in the temple with a hatchet, while Harriet sustained severe head injuries. Both survived but were left with lifelong scars, both physical and emotional. The Axeman struck again on August 5, 1918, this time targeting Anna Schneider, a pregnant woman. She was discovered by her husband, covered in blood with severe injuries to her face. Miraculously, Anna and her baby survived, but the horror of the attack left a lasting impression on the community. Then, on March 10, 1919, the Axeman's reign of terror reached a new height of brutality. Rose and Charles Cortimiglia were attacked in their home, sustaining severe head injuries. Tragically, their 2-year-old daughter, Mary, did not survive the attack. The scene was one of unimaginable horror, leaving the community reeling. These seemingly random, yet methodically executed attacks left the police with few leads. The killer left no clues that could point to his identity, and despite numerous theories and suspects, the Axeman continued to evade capture. The terror he unleashed was not just in the act of killing, but in the pervasive fear that no one was safe and the next victim could be anyone. On March 13, 1919, the Times-Picayune newspaper received a chilling letter from someone claiming to be the Axeman. This letter would become infamous not just for its content, but for the eerie calm it brought to a city in terror. The letter read, Hell, March 13, 1919. Esteemed mortal, they have never caught me and they never will. They have never seen me, for I am invisible, even as the ether that surrounds your earth. I am not a human being, but a spirit and a demon from the hottest hell. I am what you Orleanians and your foolish police call the Axeman. When I see fit, I shall come and claim other victims. I alone know whom they shall be. I shall leave no clue except my bloody axe, besmeared with blood and brains of he whom I have sent below to keep me company. If you wish, you may tell the police to be careful not to rile me. Of course, I am a reasonable spirit. I take no offense at the way they have conducted their investigations in the past. In fact, they have been so utterly stupid as to not only amuse me, but His Satanic Majesty, Francis Joseph, etc. But tell them to beware. Let them not try to discover what I am, for it were better that they were never born than for them to incur the wrath of the Axeman. I don't think there is any need of such a warning, for I feel sure the police will always dodge me, as they have in the past. They are wise and know how to keep away from all harm. Undoubtedly, you Orleanians think of me as a most horrible murderer, which I am, but I could be much worse if I wanted to. If I wished, I could pay a visit to your city every night. At will, I could slay thousands of your best citizens, for I am in close relationship with the angel of death. Now, to be exact, at 12:15 earthly time on next Tuesday night, I am going to pass over New Orleans. In my infinite mercy, I am going to make a little proposition to you people. Here it is. I am very fond of jazz music, and I swear by all the devils in the nether regions that every person shall be spared in whose home a jazz band is in full swing at the time I have just mentioned. If everyone has a jazz band going, well then, so much the better for you people. One thing is certain, and that is that some of your people who do not jazz it out on that specific Tuesday night, if there be any, will get the axe. Well, as I am cold and crave the warmth of my native Tartarus, and it is about time I leave your earthly home, I will cease my discourse, hoping that thou wilt publish this, that it may go well with thee. I have been, am, and will be the worst spirit that ever existed either in fact or realm of fancy. That night, the city was filled with the sounds of jazz. Families and businesses alike played jazz music, filling the air with a melody meant to ward off the menace. And remarkably, it worked. The night passed without a single attack. The Axeman's letter had succeeded in turning terror into a bizarre night of citywide celebration, where jazz played the role of savior. Among the numerous victims of the Axeman, the stories of Louis Bissumer and his mistress Harriet Lowe, as well as Rose and Charles Cortimiglia, stand out due to their sheer brutality and the fear they spread through the community. On June 27, 1918, grocer Louis Bissumer and his mistress, Harriet Lowe, were attacked in the quarters behind Bissumer's store. They were discovered the next morning by a delivery driver, critically injured but still alive. Bissumer had been struck above his right temple with a hatchet, which resulted in a possible skull fracture, while Harriet had been hacked above her left ear. She was left with a partially paralyzed face and later succumbed to complications from her injuries. This attack was particularly chilling as it occurred in a place of business, a location people generally considered safe during working hours. On the night of March 10, 1919, Rose and Charles Cortimiglia's household in the New Orleans suburb of Gretna was shattered by another gruesome attack. Awakened by the noise of an intruder, Rose found her husband in a desperate struggle for his life. The attacker, wielding an axe, inflicted severe head injuries on both Rose and Charles. Tragically, their 2-year-old daughter, Mary, was not spared. She died from her injuries in her mother's arms. This attack not only heightened the terror among residents, but also led to a bitter and tragic miscarriage of justice. Rose, in her traumatized state, wrongly accused her neighbors of the crime, leading to their wrongful imprisonment. Another notable attack occurred on the night of August 10, 1919. Grocer Steve Boca was awakened by a dark figure standing over his bed. The intruder struck him with an axe, fracturing his skull. Boca managed to stagger to a friend's house before collapsing. Despite the severity of his injuries, Boca survived but could not recall details of the attack. In early September 1919, 19-year-old Sarah Lahman was found by her neighbors with severe head injuries and missing teeth. She had been attacked with an axe, which was left on her lawn. Like others, she survived but had no memory of the assault. The Axeman's last known attack took place on October 27, 1919, when Mike Pepitone was found murdered in his bedroom by his wife, Esther. He had been struck 18 times with an axe. Esther could only glimpse a dark figure fleeing the scene, and no substantial leads were ever found. Each attack by the Axeman was marked by its ferocity and the lack of discernible motive, leaving behind a community gripped by fear and speculation. The randomness and brutality of these crimes created an atmosphere of dread that lingered long after the Axemen disappeared. Over the years, various theories have emerged about the identity of the Axemen. One prominent suspect was Frank Doc Mumphrey, who allegedly used the alias Joseph Monfer. Mumphrey was linked to the crimes through his suspicious behavior and connections to some of the victims. He was believed to have had a jazz business, which thrived suspiciously well during the period when the Axemen's letter incited the city to play jazz music to avoid his wrath. This led some to speculate that he might have orchestrated the murders to benefit his business. Another theory points to the possibility that the killings were racially motivated, targeting Italian immigrants who were prominent in the grocery business. During this time, Italian Americans in New Orleans faced significant prejudice and were often marginalized. The Axemen's choice of victims could have been an expression of this racial tension. Despite the investigations and numerous suspects brought in for questioning, the true identity of the Axemen remains a mystery. The lack of concrete evidence and the killer's ability to evade capture have led to a myriad of speculative theories, but none have been definitively proven. Some historians and crime researchers like Colin Wilson and Richard Warner have delved into historical records to uncover potential suspects, yet the elusive nature of the Axemen has kept his identity shrouded in mystery. Theories about the Axemen's identity range from a single deranged individual to a conspiracy involving multiple people with various motives. The police were often baffled by the precision and brutality of the attacks, as well as the seeming lack of motive beyond sheer terror. This mystery has turned the Axemen into a figure of both horror and intrigue, leaving his true identity one of the most enduring mysteries in the annals of American crime history. Although the Axemen's reign of terror ended abruptly in October 1919 with the murder of Mike Pepitone, his legacy lives on in the annals of American crime history. The story has inspired books, TV shows, and even a storyline in American Horror Story. The Axemen of New Orleans remains an eerie reminder of a city's brush with a faceless terror. Modern New Orleans, with its vibrant jazz clubs and rich cultural tapestry, still bears the scars of this dark chapter. Historians and local residents often recount the chilling tales of the Axemen, ensuring that the memory of those harrowing nights is never forgotten. The fear that once silenced the streets has now become a part of the city's folklore, a haunting narrative that underscores the fragility of safety and the enduring power of fear. Despite the passage of time, the Axemen's identity remains one of the most enigmatic mysteries in American crime history. The terror he inflicted on New Orleans has been immortalized in various forms of media, from detailed historical accounts to fictional adaptations, each retelling adding another layer to the legend. The jazz-loving killer who once prowled the streets under the cover of darkness has left a legacy that is both fascinating and horrifying. His story is a stark reminder of how a single individual can plunge an entire city into chaos and how the echoes of such terror can resonate through generations. The Axeman of New Orleans may never be unmasked, but his story continues to haunt the imaginations of many. As we delve into the past, we are reminded of the fragility of safety and the enduring power of fear. Imagine this: three women vanish without a trace from their home in the middle of the night. There are no signs of a struggle, no signs of forced entry, only a shattered porch light hinting at something sinister. This is the story of the Springfield Three, a chilling and mysterious case that has baffled investigators and haunted the community of Springfield, Missouri for over 3 decades. On the night of June 6, 1992, friends Suzanne Streeter and Stacy McCall were celebrating their high school graduation. They spent the evening attending various graduation parties, reveling in their newfound freedom and the exciting future ahead of them. They planned to stay the night at Suzanne's house, a place that should have been a sanctuary of safety and comfort. But by the morning of June 7th, Suzanne, her friend Stacy, and Suzanne's mother, Cheryl Levitt, had disappeared from their home on 1717 East Delmer Street. They have not been seen or heard from since. The importance of this case cannot be overstated. It is a stark reminder of how quickly and inexplicably life can change. It has left a lasting impact on the community, instilling a sense of fear and helplessness. The unsolved nature of the case continues to haunt the families of the victims, the investigators who worked tirelessly to find them, and the residents of Springfield. This is not just a story of disappearance, it is a story of unresolved pain, endless questions, and the relentless pursuit of truth. As we dive into the details of this mysterious case, let's explore the events leading up to their disappearance, the investigation that followed, and the numerous theories and suspects that have emerged over the years. This is a journey into one of the most perplexing and haunting mysteries in true crime history. Cheryl Levitt, a 47-year-old single mother, was a cosmetologist known for her meticulous nature and strong work ethic. Her daughter, Suzanne Susie Streeter, 19, had just graduated from Kickapoo High School alongside her friend Stacy McCall, 18. Both young women were full of life and looking forward to the future. On June 6, 1992, Suzanne and Stacy attended several graduation parties, celebrating their achievement and enjoying their newfound freedom. The evening was filled with laughter and joy as they hopped from one party to another. After a night of festivities, the two friends decided to stay at Suzanne's house, arriving at 1717 East Delmer Street around 2:15 am on June 7th. They had initially planned to go to Branson, Missouri with friends the next day, but opted to stay at Suzanne's house instead to rest. Cheryl Levitt was last heard from around 11:15 p.m. on June 6th when she spoke to a friend on the phone. She had spent her evening working on refinishing a dresser and was likely preparing for bed around the same time Suzanne and Stacy arrived home. The following morning, friends and family became concerned when they couldn't reach the three women. Upon arriving at the house, they found all three women's cars parked outside, their personal belongings inside, and an eerie silence filling the air. Cheryl's neatly made bed, damp washcloths in the bathroom, and an untouched graduation cake in the refrigerator painted a picture of an ordinary night interrupted by something extraordinary and terrifying. On the morning of June 7th, 1992, the nightmare began for the friends and family of Cheryl Levitt, Suzanne Streeter, and Stacy McCall. Concerned when phone calls went unanswered, friends and family started arriving at the house on 1717 East Delmer Street to check on the women. The first to arrive were Stacy's parents, Janice and Stu McCall. What they found was deeply unsettling. All three women's cars were still at the house. Cheryl's blue Corsica was parked in the carport. Suzanne's red Ford Escort and Stacy's Toyota Corolla were in the circle drive. It was as if the women had just vanished into thin air, leaving behind everything they owned. The family dog, Cinnamon, was inside, unharmed but clearly distressed. Inside the house, it seemed like a normal morning. The TV was on, the women's purses were lined up at the bottom of the stairs, and a graduation cake was in the refrigerator. Personal items like money, keys, and cigarettes were left behind. It was as if they had intended to return shortly but never did. As the hours passed, more friends and relatives arrived, growing increasingly anxious. Up to 20 people entered the home, their worry for the women overriding any concern about contaminating the scene. This well-meaning intrusion significantly hindered the investigation, as potential evidence was disturbed or destroyed. Amid the confusion, a friend of the family listened to the answering machine and accidentally erased a strange message. Police believed this message might have contained a crucial clue, but its content was lost forever. This mistake further complicated the already perplexing case. The scene inside suggested that Suzanne and Stacy had prepared for bed. Damp washcloths with makeup residue were found in the bathroom, and their jewelry was neatly placed nearby. Stacy's clothes were folded, indicating she had changed for bed. Cheryl's bed appeared slept in, her book turned over on the nightstand as if she had intended to resume reading. Yet, despite these signs of a normal evening routine, the women were gone. Investigators faced an immediate challenge. There were no signs of a struggle, no blood, no forced entry. The only peculiarities were the shattered porch light and the unlocked front door. This broken light bulb led investigators to theorize that it might have been deliberately smashed to lure the women outside or to create a moment of confusion during which they were abducted. The initial police response included a thorough search of the house and surrounding area, but there were no immediate leads. Posters of the missing women were quickly distributed throughout Springfield, and extensive media coverage followed. Thousands of tips poured in, but none led to the women. Adding to the strangeness of the situation, neighbors reported seeing a suspicious green Dodge van in the area. One witness even claimed to have seen Suzanne driving the van later on June 7th, looking distressed with a male passenger issuing commands. Another witness saw a similar van at a grocery store, driven by a blonde woman, and noted down the license plate. However, this crucial piece of information was lost when the witness discarded the paper before contacting the authorities. A few days later, police received a letter left at a newspaper rack suggesting the use of a ruse involving a gas man checking for a leak, but its meaning and connection to the case remained unclear. Investigators conducted searches across the Ozarks, logging 5,200 tips and working countless hours of overtime, yet the trail remained cold. The case soon attracted national attention. An episode of America's Most Wanted generated numerous calls, but one in particular stood out. A caller claimed to have crucial information about the abductions, but hung up before the call could be transferred to Springfield investigators. Despite public appeals, the caller never reached out again, leaving another potential lead in limbo. By June 9, 1992, the FBI was involved, but even their resources and expertise couldn't break the case. Rumors and speculation swirled, but concrete evidence was scant. The broken porch light, the erased voicemail, and the lack of any sign of struggle inside the house presented a frustratingly opaque puzzle. In the weeks following the disappearance, authorities briefly focused on Robert Craig Cox, a convicted kidnapper and murderer. Cox, who was living in Springfield at the time, initially had an alibi provided by his girlfriend, but she later recanted. Cox, who was in prison in Texas for unrelated crimes, claimed to know the fate of the Springfield Three, stating they were dead and their bodies would never be found. Despite his assertions, there wasn't enough evidence to charge him in connection with the case. The lack of evidence and the numerous dead ends led to the case going cold. Yet, the haunting disappearance of Cheryl Levitt, Suzanne Streeter, and Stacy McCall continues to capture public attention and remains one of Springfield's most enduring mysteries. The enduring question lingers: what happened to the Springfield Three? When police arrived at 1717 East Delmar Street on June 7, 1992, they found a puzzling and eerie scene. There were no signs of a struggle inside the home. The women's cars were parked outside, personal belongings such as purses, keys, money, and cigarettes were left behind, and the family dog was unharmed. This suggested that whatever had happened, it was quick and unexpected. The only sign of disturbance was a shattered porch light. This broken light bulb led investigators to theorize that it might have been deliberately smashed to lure the women outside or create a moment of confusion during which they were abducted. Despite this clue, the lack of blood, forced entry, or any clear sign of a struggle inside the home made the situation all the more baffling. In their early efforts, police meticulously collected evidence from the scene, although the contamination by friends and family had already compromised it. They dusted for fingerprints, searched for any trace of the women, and interviewed neighbors and potential witnesses. Investigators also focused on the voicemail message that was accidentally erased, hoping it might have contained a vital clue. Unfortunately, with the message gone, they were left to piece together the timeline and events through other means. The broken porch light became a significant lead. Investigators speculated that it might have been a ruse to draw one or more of the women outside. This hypothesis gained some traction but lacked concrete evidence to support it fully. The early days of the investigation were marked by intense efforts to follow up on leads, conduct searches, and appeal to the public for any information that might help solve the case. The Springfield Police Department, along with the FBI, logged thousands of tips and conducted extensive searches, but each potential lead seemed to lead to a dead end. Despite the thorough investigation and the significant resources allocated to the case, the mystery of the Springfield Three remained unsolved, leaving investigators and the community with more questions than answers. The search for Cheryl Levitt, Suzanne Streeter, and Stacy McCall was extensive and spanned across multiple states. From the very beginning, the Springfield Police Department, along with the FBI and other law enforcement agencies, dedicated substantial resources to finding the three missing women. Over 5,200 tips were logged by the police, with investigators following up on each lead. Flyers and posters were distributed widely, and media coverage helped to keep the case in the public eye. The police conducted searches in wooded areas, fields, and various properties around Springfield and beyond, hoping to find any trace of the women. One specific lead involved a letter left at a newsleader newspaper rack at Smitty's. The letter contained a drawing of the Bolivar Road apartments with the phrase, "Use ruse of gas man checking for leak," written on it. Investigators were unsure of its exact meaning, but it suggested a potential method of luring the women out of the house. This clue, however, did not lead to any concrete evidence or suspects. Another significant lead was the report of a green Dodge van seen near the house on the morning of the disappearance. Witnesses reported seeing Suzanne driving the van later on June 7th, looking distressed, with a male passenger issuing commands. Another witness saw a similar van at a local grocery store, driven by a blonde woman, and noted down the license plate. Unfortunately, the witness discarded the paper before contacting the authorities, losing what might have been a crucial piece of evidence. Despite these leads, the search efforts were hampered by the lack of physical evidence and the initial contamination of the crime scene. Investigators conducted interviews with neighbors, friends, and known associates of the women, including Robert Craig Cox, a convicted kidnapper and murderer who claimed to know their fate but refused to provide details. Each lead seemed to lead to a dead end, frustrating both investigators and the families of the missing women. Searches extended into other states as tips and potential sightings came in, but none proved fruitful. Despite the relentless effort and the significant amount of time and resources invested, the case grew cold, and the whereabouts of Cheryl Levitt, Suzanne Streeter, and Stacy McCall remained unknown. The lack of clear evidence and the numerous dead ends contributed to the enduring mystery of the Springfield Three, making it one of the most perplexing unsolved cases in true crime history. One of the most prominent suspects in the case of the Springfield Three is Robert Craig Cox, a convicted kidnapper and murderer. Cox was living in Springfield at the time of the disappearances and had a troubling criminal history. He was convicted of the 1978 murder of Sharon Zellers in Florida, though his conviction was later overturned due to lack of evidence. Cox moved to Springfield and quickly became a person of interest in the case. In a chilling interview from prison, Cox claimed to know that the women were dead and that their bodies would never be found. Despite his assertions, he refused to provide any further details, leaving investigators and the families in a perpetual state of uncertainty. Cox's alibi, initially corroborated by his girlfriend, fell apart when she admitted she had lied at his behest. Yet, despite these inconsistencies and his ominous statements, there was never enough concrete evidence to charge him in connection with the disappearances of Cheryl, Suzanne, and Stacy. Another suspect was Dustin Ricla, Suzanne Streeter's ex-boyfriend. Ricla, along with his friends, had been involved in a string of petty crimes, including the vandalism of a mausoleum to steal gold dental fillings from corpses. Suzanne had provided a statement to police about Ricla's activities, which made him a potential suspect in her disappearance. It was speculated that Ricla might have had a motive to silence Suzanne to prevent her testimony. However, despite these theories, no substantial evidence linked him or his associates directly to the women's disappearance. The case also brought forth various theories. One involved a transient man who was reportedly seen in the area around the time of the disappearances. Another theory suggested that the women might have been abducted by someone posing as a utility worker, as hinted by the mysterious letter mentioning a gas man ruse. However, these theories, while intriguing, did not yield any concrete leads. The disappearance of the Springfield Three had a profound impact on the local community and the families involved. Janice McCall, Stacy's mother, became a relentless advocate for her daughter, never giving up hope and continuing to search for answers. The emotional toll on the families was immense, marked by years of uncertainty and grief. The community rallied together, blanketing Springfield with missing persons posters, organizing search parties, and holding vigils. The case drew significant media attention, featuring prominently on national programs like America's Most Wanted. These efforts kept the case in the public eye, generating numerous tips and leads, though none led to a resolution. Today, the case of the Springfield Three remains a cold case. Despite the extensive search efforts, the involvement of the FBI, and the numerous tips received over the years, there have been no significant leads in recent times. The case continues to attract the interest of true crime enthusiasts and is occasionally re examined by authorities hoping to find new clues with advances in forensic technology. If you have any information regarding the case of the Springfield Three, no matter how insignificant it may seem, please come forward. Keeping this case in the public eye is crucial for bringing closure to the families and finding justice for Cheryl, Suzanne, and Stacy. Your information could be the key to solving this decades-old mystery. As we close, let's recap the mysterious elements of this haunting case. Three women vanished without a trace, leaving behind a shattered porch light and a lifetime of unanswered questions. What happened to Cheryl, Suzanne, and Stacy that night? Will this perplexing mystery ever be solved? The quest for answers continues, and we must never give up hope. For the families, the friends, and the community of Springfield, the search for the truth is a journey that must be pursued until the very end. Stay vigilant, stay hopeful, and remember the importance of never giving up on seeking the truth. Thank you for joining us as we delve into the enduring mystery of the Springfield Three. In the heart of Russia's Ural Mountains lies a place of mystery and intrigue where the line between reality and the unknown blurs. This is the story of the Dyatlov Pass incident, a chilling tale that has puzzled investigators and fascinated mystery enthusiasts for over 6 decades. In January 1959, 9 experienced hikers embarked on an expedition to reach the remote Otorten Mountain. These were not ordinary hikers, they were skilled, young, and full of life, eager to conquer the harsh terrain of the Ural Mountains. However, what started as an adventure turned into a nightmare. On February 2nd, 1959, the hikers' lifeless bodies were discovered scattered across the Dyatlov Pass, their tent found mysteriously cut open from the inside. The scene was both baffling and horrifying, with the hikers showing signs of severe, inexplicable injuries. What compelled these 9 seasoned hikers to flee their shelter in the dead of night into the freezing cold without adequate clothing or protection? The answers remain elusive, shrouded in a mix of facts, speculation, and wild theories. The group, led by Igor Dyatlov, was composed of university students and graduates, all of whom were experienced in long ski tours and mountain expeditions. Their goal was to reach the summit of Mount Otorten, a challenging route that required both endurance and expertise. The journey began on January 23, 1959, with the group setting out from Sverdlovsk, now Yekaterinburg. They followed a meticulously planned route approved by the Sverdlovsk Committee of Physical Culture and Sport. The route was designed to push their limits, taking them through some of the most challenging and unforgiving landscapes in Russia, culminating in their ultimate goal, Mount Otorten. Igor Dyatlov, the group's leader, was a 23-year-old radio engineering student known for his leadership skills and mountaineering experience. Under his guidance, the group documented their journey meticulously, taking photographs and keeping diaries that detailed their progress and high spirits. As they trekked deeper into the wilderness, they encountered increasingly severe weather conditions, but their spirits remained high. The last entries in their diaries reflected optimism and determination, with no hint of the tragedy that was to come. The hikers were expected to return to their base camp by February 12, 1959. When no communication was received from the group, concerned relatives and friends raised the alarm. On February 20th, search and rescue operations began, involving fellow students, volunteers, and military personnel. After days of searching in harsh weather conditions, rescuers discovered the hikers' abandoned tent on February 26, 1959. The tent was found on the slopes of Kholat Syakhl, partially buried in snow. It was immediately clear that something was amiss. The tent had been cut open from the inside, suggesting a hurried escape. Most of the hikers' belongings, including warm clothing, boots, and other essentials, were left behind, raising further questions about what had driven the hikers to flee their shelters so urgently. The first two bodies, those of Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivonishenko, were found at the edge of a forest about a mile from the tent. They were lying under a large cedar tree, shoeless and dressed only in their underwear. Nearby, rescuers found the remains of a small fire, suggesting that Doroshenko and Krivonishenko had tried to keep warm in the sub-zero temperatures. As the search continued, three more bodies were found between the tent and the cedar tree, spaced out as if they had been trying to return to the tent. Igor Dyatlov, Zineda Kolmogorova, and Rustam Slobodin were discovered in various states of dress and undress. Slobodin's body showed signs of a significant head injury, yet he appeared to have been conscious and walking when he died. The condition of the bodies indicated they had succumbed to hypothermia. Some of the hikers were found in a state of paradoxical undressing, a phenomenon where hypothermia victims feel a false sense of warmth and begin to remove their clothing, further complicating the mystery of their deaths. In early May, when the snow began to thaw, the remaining four hikers were discovered in a ravine about 75 meters further into the woods from the cedar tree where the first bodies were found. These bodies presented even more perplexing injuries. Lyudmila Dubinina and Semyon Zolotaryov had severe chest fractures comparable to the impact of a car crash. Dubinina was also found without her tongue and eyes. Alexander Kolvatov and Nikolay Thibox Brignoles were found with significant skull injuries. The condition and position of these bodies suggested they had tried to build a snow shelter but had succumbed to their injuries and the elements. The discovery of radioactive traces on some of their clothing added yet another layer of mystery to the already baffling case. The presence of radiation, while later linked to some of the hikers' backgrounds involving previous exposure to radioactive material, spurred numerous conspiracy theories. The Soviet investigation concluded that the hikers had died due to a compelling natural force. This vague explanation did little to satisfy the public's curiosity. Early theories ranged from an avalanche causing the group to flee their tent to animal attacks and foul play by the local Mansi tribesmen. The avalanche theory was widely criticized because the physical evidence did not support it. The tent was not buried under heavy snow, and there were no signs of an avalanche in the area. Additionally, the experienced hikers would have likely avoided setting up camp in an avalanche-prone area. The animal attack theory suggested that wild animals might have forced the hikers to flee their tent. However, there was no evidence of animal tracks or bites on the bodies, and the injuries did not align with animal attacks. The Mansi theory proposed that the indigenous people might have attacked the hikers for encroaching on their territory. However, there was no evidence of a struggle, and the Mansi were known to be peaceful. Moreover, no other footprints were found at the scene besides those of the hikers. These early theories, though plausible in some respects, failed to fully explain the bizarre circumstances and the severe, varied injuries of the hikers, leaving the Dyatlov Pass incident shrouded in mystery. The Soviet investigation into the Dyatlov Pass incident began promptly after the discovery of the bodies. The investigation was led by Lev Ivanov, a seasoned prosecutor. Despite the severe and unusual injuries found on some of the hikers, the official conclusion was that they had died due to a compelling natural force, a vague and unsatisfactory explanation that did little to quell public curiosity and concern. Lev Ivanov's investigation did uncover some perplexing details, including mysterious char marks on trees near where the bodies were found. Ivanov later claimed that he was ordered to dismiss these findings and any potential links to unidentified flying objects UFOs. He suggested that the char marks and other unusual evidence might indicate the presence of a heat ray or other advanced technology, possibly linked to secret military tests or even extraterrestrial activity. The official conclusion did little to satisfy the public, who began to speculate about the true cause of the incident. Many suspected a government cover up, theorizing that the hikers had stumbled upon secret military tests or experiments. The presence of radiation on some of the clothing fueled these suspicions, leading to theories about a nuclear weapons test or an accident involving radioactive materials. Among the more sensational theories was the idea that the KGB and CIA were involved. Some speculated that two of the hikers, Semyon Zolotaryov and Yuri Krivonishenko, were KGB agents on a mission to rendezvous with CIA operatives in the Ural Mountains. According to this theory, the hikers were caught in a deadly encounter between the two espionage agencies, resulting in their tragic deaths. Despite the many theories, ranging from the plausible to the fantastical, no definitive evidence has ever emerged to fully explain what happened on that fateful night in the Dyatlov Pass. The mystery remains unsolved, leaving room for continued speculation and investigation. Avalanche and slab avalanche theory.
The most widely accepted theory is the slab avalanche theory proposed in 2019. This theory suggests that a slab of snow slid down the slope, impacting the tent and causing the hikers to flee in panic. Unlike a traditional avalanche, a slab avalanche involves a large, cohesive block of snow moving as a single unit, which could explain why the tent was cut open from the inside and the hikers fled without proper clothing.
The proponents of this theory argue that the fear of a larger avalanche might have driven the hikers to abandon their tent hurriedly. Some of the severe injuries found on the bodies, such as chest fractures, could have been caused by the impact of the snow slab. However, there are significant counterarguments to this theory. Critics point out the lack of physical evidence for an avalanche, such as displaced snow or damage to the tree line. Moreover, the experienced hikers were unlikely to set up camp in an area prone to avalanches, and no avalanches had been recorded in that region before or since the incident. Yeti theory. Another popular yet controversial theory is that the hikers were attacked by a Yeti, a mythical creature said to inhabit the Ural Mountains. This theory gained traction due to a satirical newsletter found among the hikers' belongings, which jokingly mentioned the Yeti. Additionally, an ambiguous photo taken by the hikers shows a dark humanoid figure, which some interpret as evidence of the creature's presence. Local Mansi legends also speak of a Yeti-like creature known as the Menk, adding a layer of cultural intrigue to the theory. However, skeptics argue that the figure in the photo is likely one of the hikers, and the satirical nature of the newsletter suggests it was meant as a joke rather than a serious claim. Military and espionage theories. The involvement of military and espionage activities has also been proposed. Some theories suggest that Semyon Zolotaryov and Yuri Krivonishenko, both with connections to radioactive materials, were KGB agents on a covert mission. According to this theory, the hikers were part of a plan to meet CIA operatives in the Ural Mountains, but something went wrong, leading to a deadly confrontation. The discovery of radiation on some of the hikers' clothing lends some credence to the idea of a military or espionage connection. However, there is no concrete evidence to support this theory, and it relies heavily on speculation and circumstantial details. Paranormal and UFO theories. Lev Ivanov, the lead investigator, claimed he was pressured to omit certain findings from his report, including mysterious char marks on trees near the bodies and reports of floating balls of light. Ivanov suggested that these could be evidence of heat rays or other advanced technology potentially linked to UFOs. Some theories propose that the hikers were victims of secret military tests involving experimental weapons, which could explain the unusual injuries and radiation. Others suggest extraterrestrial involvement, pointing to the glowing orbs seen in the sky as possible UFO sightings. While these theories are intriguing and add to the mystery, they are often dismissed by skeptics as being too fantastical and lacking solid evidence. Nonetheless, the combination of strange phenomena and the government's tight-lipped response has fueled ongoing speculation about paranormal and extraterrestrial involvement in the Dyatlov Pass incident. In recent years, scientific advancements have provided new insights into the Dyatlov Pass incident. In 2019, the Russian government reopened the case, leading to a series of new investigations. One of the most notable contributions came from Swiss researchers Johann Gaume and Alexander Puzrin, who used computer simulations to analyze the slab avalanche theory. Their research, published in 2021, supported the idea that a slab of snow could have slid over the tent, forcing the hikers to cut their way out and flee in panic. The simulations showed that such an avalanche could produce the type of injuries found on the bodies without leaving the typical signs of an avalanche, like extensive snow debris or tree damage. The validation of the slab avalanche theory provided a plausible explanation for the hikers' behavior and some of their injuries, but it did not address all aspects of the mystery. Despite the recent scientific explanations, many questions remain unanswered. One of the most perplexing aspects of the Dyatlov Pass incident is the nature of the injuries sustained by the hikers. While some injuries can be explained by the slab avalanche, others, like the severe chest fractures and skull injuries, remain difficult to reconcile with this theory. Another lingering question is the presence of radiation on some of the hikers' clothing. Possible explanations include previous exposure to radioactive materials due to the backgrounds of certain hikers, such as Krivonishenko's involvement in cleaning up a nuclear disaster. However, this does not fully explain why only specific clothing items were radioactive, nor does it clarify the overall significance of this finding. The Dyatlov Pass incident continues to captivate the public and experts alike. Researchers, enthusiasts, and conspiracy theorists have all contributed to the ongoing debate about what truly happened. Some experts, like Swiss researchers Gaume and Puzrin, support the slab avalanche theory due to its scientific plausibility. Others remain skeptical, pointing out inconsistencies and unexplained details that keep the mystery alive. Enthusiasts and the general public are equally divided. Online forums and social media platforms are filled with discussions, theories, and debates reflecting the enduring fascination with the incident. Documentaries, books, and podcasts have further fueled interest, ensuring that the Dyatlov Pass incident remains a subject of intrigue and speculation. The lack of definitive answers ensures that the debate will continue, with each new piece of evidence or theory adding to the complex tapestry of this enigmatic case. As technology advances and new methods of investigation emerge, it is possible that future research may finally unlock the secrets of what happened on that fateful night in 1959. We've delved into the mysterious and tragic Dyatlov Pass incident, examining the various theories that have emerged over the years. From the slab avalanche theory, which recent scientific studies have supported, to the more sensational ideas involving Yetis, UFOs, and secret military experiments, each theory brings its own set of strengths and weaknesses. The slab avalanche theory is grounded in scientific research and offers a plausible explanation for the hikers' sudden flight from their tent and some of their injuries. However, it fails to account for the severe trauma found on some of the bodies and the presence of radiation on their clothing. The Yeti theory, while intriguing and supported by local legends and ambiguous photographs, lacks concrete evidence and remains speculative. The military and espionage theories are bolstered by the hikers' connections to radioactive materials and the Cold War context, yet they too rely heavily on circumstantial evidence and speculation. Theories involving UFOs and paranormal activity, suggested by Lev Ivanov's claims and reports of strange lights, provide a dramatic explanation but lack scientific backing and are often dismissed by skeptics. Despite the variety of theories, the true cause of the Dyatlov Pass incident remains unresolved, with each hypothesis leaving certain questions unanswered. The Dyatlov Pass incident continues to captivate and perplex because it lies at the intersection of adventure, tragedy, and mystery. The combination of unexplained deaths, severe injuries, and strange phenomena creates a compelling narrative that fuels speculation and imagination. The incident highlights the fragility of life in the face of nature's power and the limits of human understanding. This enduring fascination is evident in the continued public interest as seen in documentaries, books, and online discussions. The mystery resonates because it challenges our need for answers and certainty, reminding us that some events may forever elude explanation. As we conclude this exploration of the Dyatlov Pass incident, we invite you to share your thoughts and theories in the comments below. What do you think happened to the 9 hikers in the Ural Mountains? Do you support one of the established theories, or do you have a new idea to contribute? If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of history's greatest mysteries, please like, subscribe, and share this video with others who might be intrigued by the Dyatlov Pass incident. Stay tuned for our next video where we will unravel another mysterious or unexplained event that has baffled experts and fascinated the public. Thank you for watching.